All of us know that there are multiple ways that queer dads can create a family for themselves. Some use adoption, some use surrogacy. There are other routes as well. This week on the show, I have the opportunity to introduce you to Shawn and Tyler, who have not only adopted their firstborn, but their surrogate is birthing their second child this summer. It's a wonderful and refreshing conversation, and you are going to love every single second. Welcome to the Becoming Baby Ready podcast, your podcast for queer family planning. My name is Sam, and throughout this podcast, you'll hear me have conversations with professionals who work alongside people who want to start and grow their families, as well as parents of intentionally created families. Everyone I speak to identifies as being part of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. This is your opportunity to learn answers to questions you didn't even know you had. Welcome, everyone. I am very excited today to be sitting chatting with Shawn and Tyler. Welcome to the two of you. Please tell everyone who you are and about the members of your family.
Sure. So yeah, we're Shawn and Tyler. We are two dads based out of Louisville, Kentucky, here in the United States. We have a 13-month-old now, 1-year-old named Harrison. He is currently asleep, so that's how we're able to film the episode right now. And we have a second baby coming via surrogacy this summer. So we are about to go back into the newborn stage.
Are you ready for that?
I think we've said a little bit recently we've started like thinking back more on the newborn stage and just like how many things you forget. So I think we're kind of trying to mentally prepare ourselves again.
For
Yeah,
sure.
we were watching a YouTube video. And someone was like, "Oh yeah, they're cluster feeding." I was like, "I forgot all about cluster feeding." I
Right?
forgot all about these things. So yeah, I think like we're less worried about like there being another baby in the house as much as like the process of because we're doing surrogacy abroad, like the legal framework of like getting them back home, like that is like a separate stressor on top. Like
Just the logistics of traveling with a newborn and a toddler and just all of that.
we've done the baby thing already. We can do it again, but
Sure.
we haven't done the surrogacy abroad part yet. So that's the part that worries us.
And I'm going to come back to all of that. But before there were babies, there was Shawn and Tyler. How did the two of you meet? When did you meet?
We met on Tinder during COVID. So like Shawn was saying, Shawn is from Louisville. I'm not. My mom lives here, still lives here. And so I actually just so happened to match with him when I was in Louisville visiting my mom. I lived in Lexington, which is like an hour from Louisville, and we started like chatting and then hanging out like once a week, and then like we say all the time we hung out one weekend and then we just kept hanging out, and that is what happened. So
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And truthfully, stereotypically, that's not how things typically go. If we're swiping, then we're not swiping to meet somebody to create a long-term relationship and family with. I mean, that's
yeah.
a stereotype. Everybody breaks a stereotype every once in a while, but
Yeah, when we tell people that we met on a dating app, we get like, "Oh, those never work for me." And we were having a conversation this past weekend with some of our friends that we were at a bachelorette party and they
Mhm.
also met on a dating app. And we're like, I think sometimes it's user error. Like you get out of it what you put into it.
sure.
And um, I mean, we didn't, set out on that first date like, oh, we're gonna get married and have kids one day, but
Never
that's what
did that.
happened.
So how long were you dating and hanging out before you decided, okay, I'm all in for not only this relationship, we're going to take this the distance, but we also want to bring children into this dynamic.
Yeah, so I think that's an interesting conversation with like gay people, gay men specifically sometimes, is that the topic of having kids can be like a touchy subject.
Hmm.
Um, because there's some trauma involved and sometimes in people's childhoods and some people are just like nope, not ready for it, which is all, that's a part of their story. We dated for 3 years before we got married. So we were dating for two, got engaged for a year, got married, and we started the adoption process, like the home study process, pretty much as soon as we got home from the our honeymoon. We knew like we had talked about wanting kids like well before we got married, as I think everyone should.
Right.
You should be in alignment on that. But we both knew that it was something that we wanted.
Mhm.
And so you started the adoption process. And how did that all unfold for you? Were you looking at private adoption? Were you looking at public adoption? Were you fostering to adopt? How did that part unfold for you?
We started looking into adoption agencies just like in our area. Shawn reached out to one and that we met with them. We signed on with them essentially. And we had to do like the home study and the first aid certifications and the classes and all that stuff. And then we got approved and it was really quiet for, it was like a year,
Hmm.
about a year, like we pretty much didn't hear anything. I think the first adoption agency we were working with was a much smaller one,
Mm.
so that may have had a little bit to do with it as well. But yeah, the, after we got approved, we didn't hear anything for like a year.
Yeah, and then after a year, we matched with a birth mom who was making an adoption plan. She ultimately decided to parent, so that fell through like right at the end, like just before birth.
Mm.
Uh, but in the process, we weren't totally happy with the agency we were with, so we started a home study with another one, which is like atypical. That's not usually you pick your agency, but I was like, no, you know, we are making a huge decision. We should make sure that we're comfortable with the agency. We switched. The second
100%.
agency felt like a much better match for us,
Hmm.
and like we vibed with them a lot more. They were much more communicative, and we signed with them in January of 2025. We didn't hear anything for like a couple weeks, and then Harrison was born in March, so like very beginning of March. So it moved very fast. I mean,
With them.
some of it is just like it, you know, adoption for some people takes a long time, some really fast. It kind of depends on a million factors, but start to finish, from the moment we started the home study process, we were done was like a year and 3/4 probably.
Wow. Now, what are the laws and the regulations, the restrictions with I guess first was Harrison born in Kentucky?
No, so
Okay.
um, yeah, so it gets a little convoluted here. I know you're in Canada, right?
I am, yes.
So in the United States, all 50 states have a home study process, and we have something here called the Interstate Compact. So if you are adopting from another state, like you have to have that home study, all your stuff current in your home state. We got referred to another agency that then referred to another agency out in Nevada. Harrison was born in Nevada.
Okay.
And so the states have to like talk to each other
Hmm.
once we were ready to be discharged from the hospital. And the documents are signed in Nevada by Harrison's birth mom. Like, everything was good there. And then Nevada talks to Kentucky, and it's pretty much whichever state's the most restrictive, that's usually who wins.
Right.
In our case was Nevada. So they had to, so we got to come home, but we had to do like 6 months of post-placement visits before we could finalize. Even though all the documents were signed, we still had to like stay in the system essentially for 6 months before we got before a judge.
Okay. And now, how does it work in terms of legal guardianship with regards to adoption and these two states? Do you have, are you both the legal parents through adoption as soon as the process gets signed off by the judge, or?
We were guardianship is actually, I think, what it was referred to as. Like we had legal guardianship of him, and his biological mother gave us consent at birth to make the medical decisions and such. So we were guardians up until finalization, and then we were.
Yes, but his birth certificate now has like both of our names on it.
Nice, nice. And I mean, it's sad that you have to jump through all the hoops, but at the same time, they're doing their due diligence to make sure that they're doing the best for the birthing parent or the birthing person in this case. Not, she's not an active parent, but the birthing person as well as the child who's coming to you. So, if it takes them a little while to dot their I's and cross their T's to make sure that everything is done the way that it needs to be and packaged up nicely for you, then so be it. You just take that.
Yeah, and it's one of those like we posted a video of our finalization, and it's got almost a million, more than a million views across the platforms, and we get comments all the time of people like, "Oh, we're waiting for our dates on X date," and it's, I mean, the process, as long as it was, everyone was so kind and
Mhm.
nice and like just easy to work with. Our judge was like, these are the best cases to come before me.
Nice.
Uh, so like even though the process is long, they're doing what they need to do, but everyone was so pleasant.
And that, I'm just gonna throw this out there. In light of the current political climate in your country, it can be surprising to hear that things were so positive because it's hard to know how you're going to proceed. Ultimately, your son was born after the current administration took office and things began to change, rights began to be dismantled. So it's hard to know how that's going to go. And I'm just so grateful for the two of you that you had as pleasant an experience as you did. You deserve that, but not everybody gets that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's very true.
I love
Um,
that.
Yeah. We heard from other agencies that would be a little discriminatory in like who they accepted and who they didn't. So when, I don't know, I think you're two men or two women finding an adoption agency, like you really want to like do your due diligence, because you know they may sign on to work with you because they like have to,
Yeah.
but you may not get the attention that you need.
mhm.
So
Yeah. And so with your home studies and everything else, did you have to do any classes and things like that with the organization that you were with?
Yeah, we had to do some like online courses. We had to read a book. We had to go to a first aid class. I think it was all online courses except for the
yeah,
first aid class.
and yeah, and then the home study, social worker asks you a million questions,
Mhm.
and writes up a really long report. And then so we ended up doing three home studies through the process. The first one, it expired. We had to renew it, and then
Okay.
when we switched to the new agency,
We had to get another
we had
one.
to do another one. So they
Right.
had to like do a completely different home study.
I mean, there is something about the intention behind creating our families the way that we do and having to take the classes and the courses and the home studies and the because it makes us pause and think about every decision that we're making and are we making the right decision and are we prepared if this happens or that happens and so there is something of a gift that comes from all of that, as invasive as it can feel, as time consuming as it can feel, both in accumulating all the documents that they want you to have, getting your home ready to have some stranger come in and assess it and essentially judge you for whatever is happening behind your four walls. But there is something about it that feels like, okay, they're making sure they're taking the steps and they're giving us the time to make sure that we are making sure we are on the right page.
Yeah, our social workers were great. I mean, nothing but positive things to say about them at the second agency we went with. Um, yeah, I think a lot of people go into the process thinking like the home studies are out to get you. They're not. They're more so just making sure, one, it's like safe,
Yeah,
and you are like thinking about how it may impact you as a couple, or how it may, um, because when you have a baby, the life as you know, it's like it's gone.
yeah,
And so I felt we were like prepared for that.
yeah,
And when we
And
got,
that was something actually I think I was kind of our agency that we worked with, that was something that they like kind of focused on a lot, talking to us about like one on one when we would meet with her and stuff. And I thought that was like actually pretty cool to like because obviously you don't know what it's like until you're in it. You can hear about it or whatever, but like you don't know your experience till you're in it. But just hearing from her, like she would ask those questions, like, you won't be able to do this and this anymore, and like just kind of along the lines of that.
yeah. It is true though. It does open your eyes and you felt like you were pretty ready, right? And then Harrison came in and you're like, "Oh, I thought I knew so much and there was so much I didn't know," right?
yeah, he was in the NICU for 3 weeks, and
Oh.
it was, um, we always had help when we were up there. And then the first night that he was home with us, I remember looking at him, I was like, "What did we do?" Because it was the first night where we have to console him to sleep, and you
hmm
know. try to speak his language at 3 weeks old, and you know, all the
Yeah.
preparation we did. I was like, but when you're like in the moment, it's like, okay, what next?
Yeah. Oh, yes. And my kids are in their 20s and I still remember that feeling of them being newborn babies and thinking, what was I thinking? How did I think I could do this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Harrison and he's 13 months old. And when did the course change? At some point you were all in on adoption, clearly,
Yep.
because that's how you got Harrison. And now we're down a surrogacy path in another country? What's
Yeah, yeah. So, about in the year that we hadn't heard anything, we were kind of asking our agency, like, what are there no cases coming in? And, weren't really happy. But frankly, our fortunes had changed a little bit. And we started exploring like other options. Our plan was to let our home study lapse, and we were just going to go the IVF route, and that was going to, just close that chapter because not to sound like it's not a lot of money, but we were only in $2,000 on the home study and like all the courses and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, we can just, you know,
Yeah.
cut it and let that, go the different route. And we flew to Mexico City to create embryos in May of 2024. And our first round of embryos, they all failed. Not one survived. And
Oh,
so did retrieval again, and we had 12 survive.
okay.
Um, about the time they found out they survived, our home stay was about to expire. This is September by now
Of 24.
of
Yeah.
24. Yeah, and so our home study was expiring like at the end of September. We get a call from our adoption agency that we hadn't heard from in a year, saying, "Hey, this mom saw your profile. She wants to, talk to you." We talked to her, and we're like, "Is she?" We were matched, so we had to renew our home study again.
Right.
Um, and then several months go by, like we're waiting to match with a surrogate. That adoption falls through. We sign with the like, and then Harrison comes
Yeah.
in that way. And then right after, well, Harrison's 6 months old. We have a surrogate match. We go through like three surrogate matches essentially because the science just didn't work out for the first two. The
Hmm.
third one, it works. First transfer successful. Harrison 6 months old, and the rest is history. So our paths, like our intention was to like close our home study and be done with it, but that first adoption that failed, it did fail, and we were like, devastated. But had we not done that, we wouldn't have kept our home study open, and then
We wouldn't
Harrison
have had.
would not be in our family.
Right. So things happened the way they were supposed to happen, right?
They did. And we were obviously like very heartbroken when that adoption fell through. But we also had no clue that, I mean, it was only like a month later that we were in Nevada with Harrison.
Right. Yeah. Fair. So,
Yeah.
I mean, things worked out the way they were supposed to work out. Now you've got this beautiful boy who is sleeping well right now, which is fantastic, giving you guys some time, which is beautiful.
Great
And
sleep.
and you match with the surrogate and it takes first time. How did you with the agency that you went with in Mexico City? Was it a whole package deal that you sign on with them and they'll find you an egg donor, they'll find you, or they have an egg donor for you to choose from, or they have eggs for you to choose from. I don't know because it's all different everywhere, right? And then they also have a list of surrogates for you to potentially match with, or do you have to do some of that legwork yourself?
S- So it was basically like a database
Hmm.
for the egg donors. So we were able to like go into a database that they gave us and we could see photos of the egg donors, their family like health history,
Hmm.
and that was it. And you could pick off of that
Hmm.
and you let them know that those were like the eggs that you wanted to use. And then the surrogate match is just they just match you with the surrogate. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's based on availability, and then our in Mexico, your egg donor is anonymous. Like we don't know who she is. We saw a picture of her, but you know,
Hmm.
uh, don't know her name, anything like that. But we do know who our surrogate is, and we're much more involved with them. But the surrogate is it's gestational surrogacies they're carrying, but they're not biologically related.
Hold on for just a moment. We'll be right back. I don't know about you, but I love being able to support queer business wherever possible. Here are 10 of the businesses I've connected with over the last couple of years. The first is Conscious Leadership Academy, and you can find them at lauriesolpizio.com, littlebondco.com, birthmarksupport.com, everydonation.com, fertilitylawcanada.com, understorycafe.com, heygaddies.com, gwkacademy.org, informedfertility.ca, and knifeyspoony.com. To learn more and visit these websites, check out the bottom of the show notes over all of the episodes in the coming weeks. And are they in Mexico City themselves? So, okay. Do you have any communication with your surrogate at all?
We have, and we can kind of at our, discretion. We've like FaceTimed into an ultrasound because we wanted to do it at least once. Just logistics, like it doesn't, make we can't. The surrogates, the agencies offered you guys can come down to any of them. It just
Right.
reality doesn't work that way. So we have been able to talk with her through a translator, but yeah, we've been able to communicate, and obviously we'll see her when the baby's born.
That's amazing. Now, how do they do things down there? Do they typically induce a surrogate at 38 or 39 weeks, and you'll make sure that you're there before the induction date and get yourself set up, I assume with an Airbnb or something, because presumably you'll have to be there for a period of time. Do you know how long you have to stay?
Any anywhere between 2 and 6 weeks is what the ballpark they give you.
Yeah.
So
And so the plan will be to induce at 38 weeks. They'll let us know about a month out the date, like they'll set a date, which we're 2 months away at this point.
Yeah.
So we are now starting to like get into planning mode of, but we're kind of waiting on that date to be set before we do the rest of the like, okay, when we're going down, because we don't just want to like hang out there for too long. So because we do have a toddler, so we want
Yeah.
to disrupt as little as possible.
That well, yes, and I mean the upside of being there for if you're there for 4 or 5 or 6 weeks is that it's not as disruptive almost to Harrison than going for just 2 weeks because he'll settle into some kind of a new routine while you're there. But Mexico in the summertime, that is going to be a warm visit, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I know Mexico City's a little more mild, but it's gonna be balmy.
Yeah, balmy. There you go. That's a great way to describe it. And were you able to get like a rental house or something like that so you can actually make yourself feel comfortable
We
spreading out there?
will. We haven't booked it as of like this recording. We
Yeah.
probably will by the time this goes up, it goes live, because we'll be close but when this goes live. But when we went for the embryo creation, we were there for a week and we rented a condo, and we will probably rent a little more space this time, because we're taking a toddler down, and Tyler's grandmother's coming with us to help out for a couple weeks.
Nice. Now, I know Tyler, you're home with Harrison at this point, and Shawn, is your work remote enough that you can do work from down there, or do you have to take the time completely right off?
Yeah, so my current plan is to work as much as I can until the baby's born.
Mhm.
So a few days before. I will take paternity leave. I'm fortunate enough to have it, and so I will use it.
Uh-huh.
Um, I know it's not that common in the United States, unfortunately. Um,
especially with
yeah,
men.
especially for men.
Yeah.
So I will take. I work full time from home currently, my current capacity, but um, my goal, I would really like to spend more of my paternity leave in the United States than
Mhm.
abroad. So I'm gonna try to save as much as I can when we get back. And our intent is to hire like a night nanny to kind of help with the transition to two parents while we're down there.
And then my grandmother will be there for a little while to help us and help me while he's working.
Yeah. You run around chasing the toddler that you've got who's keeping everybody on their toes and busy and needing to be entertained as well as carrying around a new baby. Although I'm pretty sure grandma's going to be more than happy to just sort of snuggle in with a new baby sometimes too. And so, I mean, when it comes to family creation and intentional family creation, the two of you decided we're going to do exactly all of it because
Yep.
we don't want to choose any one path, which is really kind of cool. May I ask, what was it that had you looking at international surrogacy versus domestic? Was it a cost? Was it an accessibility or?
It was cost fully.
It was cost. So the United States famously has the worst healthcare system ever. And I mean, not the worst, but we've been on the internet long enough where we have to be like careful with our words. Like if we say it's the worst, someone's gonna be like, "Well, actually,"
That's
Yeah.
like, you guys know what I mean. But the United States healthcare system is pretty bad and it's super expensive. And insurance does not cover anything for men pursuing surrogacy, in the United States. And so you have options. It's up to your employer to provide some benefit. Mine does not.
okay.
So we are having to front the full thing out of pocket.
Yeah.
And in the United States, it like at the low end, you're spending $200,000. At the high end, you're 350, 400. We have friends who they said they spent 360 to bring one baby in the world.
Yeah.
And so Mexico cuts that cost down to like a quarter or a half. Just because healthcare costs is so much cheaper there. And this week I saw that the president of Mexico actually signed some directive to make universal healthcare a thing, like in Mexico.
Wow.
Uh, so it's crazy what can happen, but not here, not in the United States. Yeah, and so it came down to cost, really. And we were at a bachelorette this last weekend, and there was another gay person there who was a few years younger than us, and we're young to be gay parents, and we acknowledge that. But he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna pick your brains when I'm starting thinking about it." I was like, "Okay, well, we've done it both ways, so whichever route you go, we got."
We've got
Yeah.
some information for sure. It is, but it is beautiful that you have that insight to be able to share with people because I mean, I can't speak for the two of you, but many of the parents that have children now have said to me, I wish that I'd had somewhere to go to find out some of this information when we were thinking about starting a family because we didn't even know where to look to find resources. Where did the two of you go to find the resources? Did you just sit with a couple glasses of wine one night and pull up Google and just start throwing things in? Like, how do you go about it?
It was like a lot of Google. I guess we had actually said in the beginning of our process, we had like kind of tried to look around on like social media and YouTube and things like that of people documenting their process, and um, we couldn't find a lot from queer couples, from gay couples.
Yeah.
There was plenty about like IVF with, like straight couples and stuff, but there weren't a lot of gay people online, at least, sharing their experience about it. Uh, and so it was mostly Google. Now, I will say in the past couple of years, there have been a lot more
Hmm.
gay couples sharing their experiences and stuff online. So and I love that. I love like people being able to find people and find those resources, because when you are first starting out in it, it can all seem like really overwhelming and
Sure.
confusing, especially if you don't know where to look.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, when we started like our YouTube channel and TikToks, like we sought to create the stuff that we were looking for. But yeah, it was a lot of I'm a spreadsheet guy, dumping a lot of information into sheets and notes and like I researched one night in like my insomnia hours. I went to Tyler the next day. I was like, look, this is what it will cost us to do it this way. I think we should consider it. Hop on a call with these people. We've actually heard from other gay parents who have come after us, who in a similar boat, they started watching our content because they were going through the process and couldn't find anything. And then we inspired them to like either buckle down, take the process more seriously, or to document it themselves. Because I think in the gay world, you like heard about celebrities doing
Hmm.
surrogacy,
Mhm.
but not anybody else.
Yeah.
So.
That's true. And, as wonderful as the two of you are, I don't know what your circumstances are, but I haven't seen you on TV like I have Ricky Martin or Neil Patrick Harris. But you're right. Those are really the only faces that we typically see and stories that we hear. And then we think, well, they did it because they have all these resources. And what you're able to do is say, I mean, you have to buckle down, you have to penny pinch, you have to plan and make sure that you set things aside. But you do it because that's what you want to do. And you hear people say, you just said someone that you spoke to or someone that you know of spent $360,000 to have one child. And that feels so prohibitive and it feels elitist, quite frankly. But we also hear, this deep yearning and desire. I mean, there's so many people that you talk to who want to become parents more than they want anything else on the planet. They just want to become parents. And so for them, if it's going to take $360,000 because that's what the cost of the process is, that's what they'll pay. They'll remortgage their house, they'll take out loans, they'll do whatever they have to do because what they want more than anything is to just become a parent. Because it is that path that feels like it's just in us that we have to take.
That's something I feel like when we like talk about it or when we talk to other people about it or they ask about it, that we mention and such because we like do recognize like there are a lot of gay people that would love to have kids that could afford kids but they can't afford the process to get the kids.
Yeah,
There is like such a financial barrier there for a lot of people. And it is unfortunate, especially in adoption. Uh like we've talked about this personally before, but just with surrogacy, like I understand the cost of surrogacy being a little more intricate because of everything that
sure.
it like applies to it. Uh the cost of adoption is it should not be what it is.
Yeah, and we get that's the question we get the most often is how do you guys afford that? I think everyone wants to know how everyone affords their lifestyle.
Sure.
But I mean, Tyler wasn't always staying home, and when he was working, like every penny that he earned from his like we lived on my salary, every penny of his went toward this goal that we had because to your point, we had to just buckle down
Hmm.
and do it. And I know it's easier said for some than others, but like we had to do it. Like it was just that drive of like, maybe we don't do the XYZ because this is the goal.
Yeah. Yeah. And we all set our priorities. For
Yeah.
the two of you, that was your priority. That's you have, as you say, you had the ability to be able to take one salary and live off one salary by being frugal in other areas, and you could take the other salary and set it aside so that you could walk down the path of starting the family the two of you clearly have been dreaming about since probably before you became a couple, but then once you actually found your soulmate and the love of your life, you're like, okay, well, this is the person I'm supposed to do this with now.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
It's beautiful. So you have one, you've got one on the way. Are we sitting at two, or have we fully decided, or what does the future look like?
I I don't think we have said that we have fully decided. I think in our conversations at the moment lean towards sitting with two.
Hmm.
Uh, but we also say we don't know how we'll feel in maybe 5, 6 years. I definitely would want the first two to be in school before another one was even thought about. And
Yep.
luckily we do have that choice. We have to
Yep.
plan. So we do
Yep.
have that.
Not going to be a
Um,
surprise.
so yeah, so I don't want to like I'll say never. I don't want to say never, but I don't know. I don't know how we'll feel in 5, 6 years down the road.
Yeah, I think we both enjoyed the baby stage a lot. But it was never our intention. Like our original intention when we started surrogacy was we'd have one, and
Hmm.
then when the second was born, we would like start the next process, knowing it would take a few years.
Hmm.
But we end up with two babies 15 months apart.
And it's funny because a lot of people, when I try to explain it to people, because we really did not intend for Harrison and this baby to be so close in age. And because when you're a gay person having kids and it's so meticulously planned, some people are like, what do you mean you didn't mean for them to be so close in age? But it really was just the way it worked out that they just ended up being
Yeah.
that close in age. We were not trying to have two kids so close together, so to speak.
Fair. And I've talked to other gay dads that have used surrogacy who have had two surrogates essentially ready to go because these days, I mean, only just a few short years ago, many people could talk a doctor and a surrogate into transferring two eggs to have twins and then only pay for one surrogacy journey. Now, for health reasons, they don't try to create twins. I mean, sometimes twins still happens. So there are people who saying, I want to kind of get this show on the road and get too young and done and so they have two surrogates happening close together. And if they don't both take at the same time, then you end up with this spacing not dissimilar to what the two of you are experiencing.
Yeah, we have friends with babies a couple months apart because of the exact same thing happening. But yeah, I mean, on the other side is like there's the reality that when Harrison's 18, graduating high school, we'll be 45 and 43. Like
Nice.
that doesn't sound too bad either. And if,
And that was a conversation we had when we were talking about the potential for a third child because Shawn was like, when it gets to that point, it's going to be more of a question too of like, do we want to start that clock over? Like, do we want to?
Yep.
Yeah.
I hear you. I had my first at 26. He's 28 now, and I still feel quite youthful myself. So, I mean, I can appreciate I think about people being, in their early 40s and starting a family, and I think I don't know that I would have the stamina for that. Certainly not placing any judgment on them, but I just don't think I'd have the stamina for that.
yeah, I, yeah, it's a lot of energy.
And because that was something else we had kind of noticed, like when we have met other gay parents, especially because of like that financial barrier, a lot of people aren't able to or do not start the process until into like their late 30s, early 40s. And so they're like he said, we are we're on the younger side to be
Sure.
gay parents and a lot of people are I feel like surprised at us having a child that young, but I say all the straight people have children at this age all the time.
For
So
Yeah,
sure.
we get comments from other gay people on our YouTube channel from time to time of like, oh, you guys are throwing your youth away with having
yeah.
kids. It's like, well, our priorities are just different. It's,
Mhm.
it's we knew we wanted like the family life was what we wanted, and no judgment to someone who doesn't want it that way.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing about, this life is you get to do it how you want to do it most of the time if you're lucky.
Mhm.
Um, and this is we had all of our ducks in a row. Like we had the financial piece in order. Like we were good. Like
We felt ready.
yeah, as ready as you can be.
Yeah.
Wow, we thought.
Yep. Absolutely. And so when you look at the whole picture of all of it, are there any parts of it that you would caution expectant or hopeful parents about?
I thought I can write a book on this. I think it's one like because where Harrison was born, we matched with his birth mom on a Friday. He was born on Monday. Like it was so fast. So I think that we didn't have the time to like transition from not being parents to parenthood. Like
Mm,
additional 9-month pregnancy would allow you. So, some of the ceremonies of like, we didn't know that when we went out to dinner on Saturday night that it was our last time, just the two of us. Not ever, because we do have our date nights, but
sure.
they're different now. And I think any expectation you have on your partner, like it changes when a baby's brought in, like because you're both learning how to do it for the first time.
Hmm.
And you have to have that grace with each other. That is like I think it's very very easy to get short fused and um like why would you do that like to your partner when a baby's screaming? But everyone's a perfect parent on paper. Everyone's like, I would never let my kid do XYZ, yada yada yada. And then baby's here, gotta soothe them. Yeah. So maybe you give them that extra bottle during the night, like.
Yeah. Or throw on the TV or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Bring them into your bed to sleep, or it doesn't matter, right? People have judgment. Everybody, like you say, is a perfect parent when it's not. It isn't even when they're not parents, but it's when it's not your kid.
Yeah.
Because how I parented my kids was one thing, but I watch other people parent and I feel myself think I, I don't think I would have made that decision. And that's judgy. That's none of my business. But I think that we can't help doing that. I suppose that's just
I
human
think
nature.
we see it all the time in restaurants. Like you watch any video of a kid in restaurants, like, oh, no iPad, like they have an iPad, so they don't know how to interact with the world. We don't have an iPad child. He's one. We're gonna do our best to not let that happen, but
Sure.
that's just how we choose to parent. But then you see kids throwing a fit in a restaurant. They're like, why aren't the parents doing anything? It's like, well, they have to learn how to be a part of society.
Yeah.
They're learning it just like we had to at some point. And yeah, I have night terrors over how we're gonna get Harrison through an airport sitting on a plane for 5 hours. I have no idea how we're gonna do that, but you know, I think everyone's a perfect parent until it's time, and then we got to figure it out.
I think that's something I've thought of too since becoming a parent is like having to really think about that in the sense of like when if I was out with the baby or when he was a toddler or whatever, if you're out with your kid and they are having a tantrum or they're throwing fit and you're in Target or whatever or something like that, it you do start to get like stressed, obviously really stressed, but then I like kind of have reframed myself to think like when somebody else's kid is doing that in the store, I'm not thinking anything like negatively about them. I'm not th I'm honestly probably feeling some like empathy for them.
Right.
So so like yeah, I would say that's like an important thing to like kind of try to keep in mind like when you're in the throes of it.
Yeah, and one other thing that we've done since the day Harrison was born, or shortly after, like the first 2 weeks, we both did the nights together, like just so we could learn.
Hmm.
And then we very quickly established like routines and patterns. So we'd alternate nights for a little while, but then we also made sure we gave the other person time to be like the person that they were before they became a parent. So
Mm.
for Tyler, that's like working out, like making sure like, I got it, I can hold down the fort for a couple hours, and now it's like not a big deal because he's one and some change. Like, he's good. But a
It's
newborn,
harder
like
in the beginning.
it's hard. So it would be like, go to your workout class, still do this thing for you. I actually had a lot of trouble with that because I'm like, what am I outside of being a parent and working right now?
Hmm.
But yeah, so making time for like to allow your partner to be the person they were and to still have that hobby, even if it's just for an hour every once in a while, it's
Yeah.
important.
It is. It helps you feel like in part for a relationship, it helps you feel as though your partner sees the value in you as well as you seeing the value in you, right? When your partner says to you, go and do the thing that's going to make you happy, I got it. Like I got this. I mean, as long as the house doesn't burn down and nobody's bleeding, I think it's a win at the end of the day, and we'll get better and better at this as we go. But when our partner says that to us and sort of nudges us out the door, not because they don't want to be with us, but because they want us to be happy, then then that's a win for the relationship too, right?
Yeah, and it allows us both to like show up as better partners and as better parents
Hmm.
that way.
100%.
Yeah.
Uh, because yeah, I would say I've I run. I've been like a runner my since I was like 12 or 13, and I tried my best to like keep up with that as much as I could when Harrison was first born. And obviously, it gets a lot harder to like divvy your time that way when you're also sleep deprived.
Yes.
So you're maybe you're not wanting to do as much, even if you have the time or the possibilities. Uh, but it is important to, I mean, there were even times with Shawn, or Shawn would do the same for me, where I would be like, you know what, like you seem really tired right now. Like I've got it right now. You just sleep in a little while. Or like same he's more of like a night owl. I'm more of like an early riser. And that's kind of towards the end of Harrison's sleep. That's kind of just kind of what we took on. So like towards the end, if Harrison would get up, he would get up with him because he had an easier time in the night, and
Mhm.
then would sleep in and I would get up with Harrison early in the morning.
Oh. And if you can divide and conquer naturally like that, intuitively, then that's fantastic, right? It's a gift.
Yeah.
Before I let you go and enjoy some time by yourselves this evening before the night owl stays up and the early riser trots off to bed, tell me what is for each of you your favorite part of parenting your sweet boy?
I'll start.
I'll let you go first.
Yeah, mine's just watching him become his own person every day. It's um uh, like I say all the time that you like your kids are gonna be who they are gonna be, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can delay it, you can slow it down, but they're gonna be their own person. You're gonna figure it out. But like watching him like kind of start to find his own interests and his own like things that he does, and it's like his facial expressions are it's just becoming his own like little person. You know, I miss the baby. I really do miss the baby, but
Yeah.
seeing him become like a little kid is just like and learn things for the first time, even if it hurts. Like the other day, he like closed his hand in a drawer. I was like, well, you gotta do it. That's
Yeah,
a
it
pain in the
happens.
but and then he doesn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But even though our doors are locked, but he's figured out a way around it. But yeah, that's part of it. Like watching him like learn the world is the craziest thing.
Yeah.
One of the things I think has been my favorite part of it is like actually being in moments and like thinking back and being like, oh, like I used to like want this. I used to like dream about this and now I'm like doing it. Even if it's just like I say to Sean all the time, like because I'm a stay-at-home parent, like pretty much everything I do, everywhere I go, everything is with him. And
Sure.
so I'm like I have a little buddy with me everywhere I go to the grocery store. We go on walks all the time. He will go like he's obviously not running, but we will go running and I'll take him with me and just like kind of the little routine that like him and I have together every day is now like really special to me. And we were actually talking the other day about the second baby and how obviously Harrison's so young, so he won't remember a time where he didn't have a sibling.
Hmm.
But when I was talking to Sean about it, I was like, I will remember that time. Like, I'll remember the time that it was just me and Harrison in the beginning.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I want to thank the two of you for taking the time to chat with me tonight. I want to thank you for creating your YouTube channel and sharing your story, not just here with me tonight, but out there in the world for everyone to see and to learn from and to have their questions answered, because most of us have questions we don't even know we've got until somebody answers it for us, and then we think, oh yes, I did need to know about that. So I want to thank you both for all that you do and all that you share with the world. And I will make sure to put in the show notes a link to your social medias and your YouTube and everything else, because listeners will want to see just what exactly your family looks like and how it has become what it is.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
As a queer individual with colonial lineage, I want to first acknowledge the land upon which I live and work. Being from what is now known as Burlington, Ontario, I recognize the original ancestry of these lands as they span from Lake Ontario to the Niagara Escarpment and beyond. These lands are steeped in Indigenous history that benefits my community every day. The territory is mutually covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy, the Ojibwe, and other allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. I would like to acknowledge that the land on which I stand is part of the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. The land dictates everything about our ways of being. Particularly, the land teaches us about fluidity. Concepts of the binary system and heteropatriarchy were imposed by the colonials who were, at the same time, removing children from their homes, families, and all that was familiar to them. These same children were divided by the only two prescribed binaries recognized by the settlers, and they were forced to conform to a performative, gendered falsehood. The land doesn't operate under binary thinking. It is diverse, complex, and unpredictable at times. Rather, the land holds us and all of our remarkable pasts and identities. Every organism and spirit has a purpose. It is from this understanding that I strive to live and grow. Thank you for joining me today on the Becoming Baby Ready podcast. If you have a story that you'd like to share, or you know someone who might, if you're a professional who works in the capacity of helping people start and grow their families, and you identify as being a part of the 2S LGBTQIA plus community yourself, then please don't hesitate to reach out. We always have room for more stories to share, and there's always more learning to do.